I was thinking about making a new name tag and put on it stupid. And but don't need to do that by the time I get done with this, you'll already know it. I decided to make it on the bench. I made one that's similar to this, um, which I gave to my son, and I kind of like the design of it. It's not my design. I found it. I think it was Woodsman. Anyway, I followed that, and it worked out pretty good. So I've got some slab material, and I thought, well, I'll just use some of that. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to be able to cut the mortises in a leg. And I got one leg that works and one leg that doesn't. I had, with the first one that I made, just a block that I got kind of stuck on my miter gauge and was holding the board down to run it through to get the angle correct for the mortise, doing one piece at a time. And I thought I'd use this thing that's I consider to be like a home cross. When I was a kid, we had feeding troughs for animals that were similar to this. It was closed and it didn't have a cut in it, but you could feed a good number of animals that way. So I had made one of these on a smaller scale so that I could put swines into boxes. And it was short, so I couldn't use it for these longer legs. So I decided I needed to make a new one that was longer. And then my stupidity was started again. I made it back using scrap wood, which fell apart after I made a cut in it. So I decided I needed to put some new boards on here. So when I did that, I ended up making the boards a little bit thinner. So the blocking that I had in here to hold that angle meant that when I put the piece in there to run it through the saw, it would bottom out on the table saw. So the piece wasn't set getting down all the way. So I ended up moving this a little bit, which was no big deal. These blocks that I got here at 45-degree angle cost me over $200 because of this. It works really well, and I didn't get hurt, and my equipment really didn't get hurt either, except to replace this, the blade and that block of aluminum, just a bit over, I think around $220. And what happened was I was using my miter gauge at a 45-degree angle. I haven't had this infrared miter gauge for a long time, but I knew in the past, but I didn't remember that when you change the angle on it, it kicks this thing around to where it can be in the track of the saw. So if you get it set or close to it on a 90-degree cut, when you turn this 45-degree angle, you end up getting your miter gauge right in line with the saw blade. And it made a loud noise, like it's supposed to. As I say, the only thing that was damaged was the aluminum block and the saw blade. So when I get that out of the machine, I keep a spare in a drawer so I could still keep on working. So I started to take a look at my miter gauge. And it's up here later on. If you want to, you can take a look. It's here on this end. You have to look, and if you run your fingernail across it, you can feel a very tiny nick. It's amazing how fast that saw stuff shuts down. And my miter gauge is still very usable. I didn't damage that. So then I get this thing to working, and I thought, well, before I spent some time getting those legs ready. Uh, I don't want to cut that and have a problem. So I had a couple of scrap pieces, not these, but what I did, I thought I'd wait the leg, put them together, drop it in that press, and run it through, and I would end up with my mortise cut off. Well, I did. I ended up. And then when I looked at it, well, the stuff, I just thought this made this up for tonight to show you what happens. This leg would be like this. So the stretcher would be running the wrong direction. Unfortunately, my head doesn't work very well anymore. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out because I wanted to use that. I was sure it could be done. So before these were attached to each other, there's two pieces here, just a left joint on there. Before they're attached, all you have to do is turn it at 90 degrees when you run it through the saw. And then it's going to fit together the right way. So that's my table bench. I'm going to probably use some. Uh, uh, this is a scrap piece, and I put some finish on it to see what it's going to look like. I think that's the way I'm going to go with it. All the urethane. At bottom, this. It would be nice if what you see now would be on top to show the live edge, but it's kind of narrow that way. So I think I'm probably going to end up putting it on there in that direction. Once I get the legs assembled, then I'm just going to use a couple pocket screws on the bottom, which you won't see, so that the top is attached. And I've got one little operation to do on here, and that is in this V here, I'm going to cut a hole in there put a square peg in there, and that way it'll hold it and bring the structure and tie it up against the legs. So, and then another thing that I did, just to get a rough idea of how things were going to go together, I went to the bandsaw and cut an angle one. I had it longer than what you see here. I still had plenty of wood to work with in case I screwed up again. So I go to the bandsaw and I cut the angle 90 degrees what it should be under. But that doesn't work out very well either. So I had my share of issues with myself. When I put these legs together for the final time, I've got right now I got two screws in here. This one will be right underneath the top of the bench, so it won't show. And this one down here will be underneath the stretcher, so it won't show. And I'll glue them together. And I try to do a lot of the finish order on some of them before I assemble. And so I'll be doing some finishing before I put these together for the final time. And when I got to the point where I was cutting these the right way, before I cut them, I put some labels on them to help me and did some rough markings on it and check and double check before I actually cut in the leg that's part of the final product. That's my Phil, thank you. Deep work.